Hey there, entrepreneur. Welcome to the Business Building Rockstars Show. I'm your host, Nicole Holland, and today I'm hanging out with Marc Mawhinney. And before we get into the good stuff, Marc, I've just got one question for you. Are you ready to rock?
Yes, I am.
Awesome. So, Marc Mawhinney is on a mission to help coaches build stronger businesses. He has a passion for entrepreneurship, having started a number of businesses in his life and growing 1 to 100 employees. After becoming a coach, he saw the struggles that coaches face while trying to build their businesses, and he decided to do something about that. He launched Natural Born Coaches, a daily podcast where he interviews successful coaches to share about their advice and works with coaches in his Accelerate for Clients one-on-one and group programs. Marc frequently makes media appearances and is a contributor for entrepreneur.com. And you can learn more about him at naturalborncoaches.com and right now, because Marc, why don't I turn it over to you, fill in the blanks, and let us know a little bit more about what you're doing today.
That's a good question. Full disclosure, you're my, as I mentioned you before I started recording, you're my 10th call today. So if you hear dead air, you know what's happened. No, I'm just kidding. The good news is you've got lots of energy, so that keeps me awake. That's my days are filled, but it doesn't feel like work because, and you probably feel the same way. When you love what you're doing, you're just addicted to it. You'd rather be doing it than something else. So my days are full of just helping coaches, nonstop. And the podcast is part of it, but then working with clients, one-on-one, I've got group programs on the go and launching some programs as well. So it's definitely a passion of mine, and it does not feel like work. I love doing it.
Awesome. Yeah, I can totally relate. When you're doing something you love, it's not work at all.
I wouldn't be doing this much if I didn't enjoy it. I would have said to hell with it. Sorry, to heck with it. A long time ago.
Awesome. So I'm going to take you back, way, way back. And I want to know, when you were a little boy, what did you want to be when you grew up?
You're going to probably laugh. It wasn't the circus or anything like that. I had a couple go-to things. The main one that I really wanted to be was a treasure hunter. So, I have a twin brother, Matt, and we grew up in the country outside the city, beautiful waterfront community called Mesa's Bay. And we spent a lot of our childhood with metal detectors on the beach looking for treasure, because there's actually a beach down there where there's apparently a lot of shipwrecks that happened in the past, and there's tales of a headless horseman and all this other, stuff. And supposedly there's buried treasure there. So I always wanted to be kind of an Indiana Jones, treasure hunter and stuff. And that was kind of my dream job. So if I'm going to end up going for it, I'm going to have to get going pretty soon, because soon I'll be too old to be traveling the world and, getting shot at and looking for treasure.
I don't know if you're ever too old, but that is so fantastical. I love it.
Yeah, and we're close to Oak Island. I'm in New Brunswick, and Oak Island, of course, the famous treasure island here in Canada, Atlantic Canada, is in Nova Scotia. So I'm just addicted to the show, The Curse of Oak Island. I watch it every Sunday night. I don't watch much TV, but I do watch that one. And that's my other goal, is I may end up just going for it to try to solve that whole riddle of Oak Island down the road. But right now I'm too busy with coaching stuff, and I'm having fun.
Awesome. So I'd love to know about, you have had so many entrepreneurial experiences. What was your first one that really meant something to you? That was like sort of I don't know if it was a stepping stone or a learning lesson or something where you really got the bug.
Well, I had a paper route when I was a kid, like a lot of people. I didn't have the lemonade stand that people have, some kids, but a paper route's really an excellent avenue into entrepreneurship, because you have to deliver the papers on time, ideally, and you have to make sure that the papers get to the front door. They're not in the ditch or somewhere else. And then you have to collect the money, and you have to deliver for what people are paying for. So I had a paper route back when I was, 12 years old, or 10 or 12 years old or so. Really, my first official foray into entrepreneurship would be right out of university. I got into real estate, and I did real estate throughout my 20s, and I did it for over a decade. And that's where I got the bug, and that's probably, the bad things where I got my workaholic tendencies nowadays at 37 years old came from in my 20s when I was in real estate, because it was just work, work, work. I had a phone to my ear at all times, except when I was in the shower, although I probably did have a phone to my ear when I was in the shower as well, but I had a lot of fun with it.
Very cool. Yeah, there's always the speakerphone option, right?
Yes. Well, when I first, this is going to date me, but when I first started selling real estate, I used to have to carry a whole pocket of quarters because I got started in the year 2000 when there's these things called pay phones. I don't know if people have heard of those. They were kind of like a square box. So yeah, I used to have a pager, and then I used to always make sure I had like 20 quarters if I was working on a deal. So I'd be driving in my marketplace and I would get a page from a client or an agent, and we're working on an offer, and I'd have to pull into a gas station to go. And this sounds like from the 1800s now. It's 2000. It was like 16 years ago, but it feels like it was like 1842 or something. But yeah, that was the first few years, or probably a year or two of real estate, was a pocket full of quarters and a pager. And then the wonderful world of cell phones came along, and here we are. It changed the whole world.
See, you're a little bit late on your cell phone uptake, because I tell you what, my first cell phone was a car phone. It was a portable car phone, and it was in 1995.
Yeah.
And it weighed probably 10 pounds, and it was like in a bag, and it was huge.
You remind me of Donald Trump in one of his books. I think it was The Art of the Comeback, and it was from 90, early 90s or something. And there's one of the pictures in the middle of the book has Trump at Wimbledon, and he's got this big 50-pound phone to his ear that's this enormous brick, but you can tell that he thinks that he's the coolest guy around because he's got a portable phone. And I always think of that. But there's a reason for it. You're in Ontario. You get stuff a lot sooner.
Heck no. No, I was in the States.
Oh, you were in the States. Well, I'm in Atlantic Canada. So all the cool stuff takes a while to filter here. So that would explain it. So we just got the internet the last few months now. we're not that bad. But generally you get things a lot quicker or the rest of the world gets things quicker, at least North America, than we do in Atlantic Canada. There's a little tiny lag. Yeah,
absolutely. I have heard of that, actually.
We restaurants. You know what? I was in Ontario last year to watch the Blue Jays. I love the Blue Jays. If I was in Ontario, I'd have season tickets. And I saw some restaurants. I said, "Oh my God, I wish we had these in Atlantic Canada." And we're getting more. We're getting better, but we've got a ways to go.
And I think most people in Ontario would say, "Oh, wow, when they go to Atlantic Canada, I wish we had this in Ontario."
Yeah, we've got the ocean. Yeah, that's a good thing. So it's beautiful here, but there's definitely some positives. I'm the type, I believe there's positives wherever you live, so there's pros and cons, like our winters. I'm not a big fan of the winters, but I love this part of the world 3 seasons of the year.
Yeah. It's funny you bring that up, because I'm here on the lake in Ontario, Lake Erie, and we've got lots of lakes. But, this winter was not bad. It was actually unseasonably warm, a little bit scarily so.
Same here.
But we got dumped on last week, feet out of nowhere, right? And it actually was kind of nice, because it was like, it's been so long since we got snow. The last 2 winters, we were snowed in like the whole season.
Well, last April, I went to Toronto to watch a Blue Jays home opener against Tampa Bay. So it would have been April, roughly mid-April to April 20th, somewhere around there. I was wearing a parka and boots because we had 10 feet of snow in Atlantic Canada. We just got a crazy amount. Anyone in the northeastern U.S. would know what we got, because we're right next door to Maine. Yeah. And when we were flying over Ontario, I looked down and I saw this green stuff. And everyone in Ontario is it's 21 Celsius. So I don't know what that convert to Fahrenheit. It's nice.
Like 80.
Yeah, roughly. Nice weather for that. I'm wearing, everyone's wearing shorts and sandals, and they're all, dressed like that. And I'm wearing boots and have a heavy coat. And I'm like, I really did not dress for the weather. But yeah, you've got better winters there definitely than us.
No doubt. So, all right. So when you were a kid, you wanted to be a treasure hunter or Indiana Jones. But I mean, who didn't want to be Indiana Jones? And then you wound up getting into real estate. You had a paper route when you were younger. What brought you into coaching?
Well, it's not a case where I grew up or had even an instance later in life where I say the skies opened up and a beam of light shone down and the angels were singing and I said, I'm going to become a coach. What had happened was I went through, I had 10 years in real estate where everything went great, no bumps, it was a lot of work, don't get me wrong, but I didn't have any stumbles. And I thought, wow, this whole real estate thing's great. I just worked my butt off and look out, Bill Gates. I'm going to be a billionaire by the time I'm 40. And then 2009 hit. So anyone who is in real estate or was in real estate knows where the story is going. And I went through a business closure, and that was a business with about 100 employees. Where I went through a business closure. And then for good measure, I went through another closure 3 years after that. So just in case any lessons didn't sink through my thick skull in 2012, they sunk in. And I had my fill of real estate. I said, I'm done. I'm not happy with this. I'm tired of being tied down to a local market anyways. And I'm done with it. And I thought, what am I going to do next? And for me, I'm very entrepreneurial. I'm just not the type to do a 9-to-5 job and sit at a desk. It's just, I'm not hardwired that way. I can't do it. And I thought long and hard, what am I going to do? And a couple of things happened. I was helped by a couple of coaches get back on my feet because I had my butt kicked for the second time in the span of, less than 5 years. And then the other thing that happened, so I thought that was pretty cool what they're doing, but I'd been into personal development for years. Since I was in high school when I read Think and Grow Rich, I was just addicted to personal development, where anything I could get my hands on for personal development, books, videos, programs, courses, I was just consuming it as quick as I could get it. So it was staring me in the face, and that was really my true passion, even throughout my 20s, wasn't real estate. And it's nothing to knock real estate. I think real estate's a great business. A lot of people love it. I didn't want to be selling real estate till I was 85 years old. No thanks. And but I did love personal development. And so a few things came all together at once. And then, of course, technology caught up with us then by when I got started as a coach at the beginning. I'm in my third year now. So by the beginning of 2014, it was a lot more accepted technology-wise that you could actually have a coaching business using technology with people all around the world, which was different than even a couple of years earlier. It wasn't as prevalent that way. So a lot of things kind of lined up for me and ended up working well. And I'm just so thankful. So I know it's a cliche to say when one door open or closes, another door opens. You hear that all the time, but it's actually true. And I think the universe was giving me a hint from real estate. It gave me a little tap in the shoulder in 2009. I didn't take the hint. And then it gave me a really hard tap in 2012 and I said, okay, I got the hint. I'm going to do something else, and here I am. I wouldn't be talking to you today if that hadn't happened.
For sure. And if you don't mind, I'd like to dig into 2012 a little bit more. Because, a lot of our listeners are going through struggles. They've tried something out. They've been really optimistic. And just like a lot of us, they think, I'm going to hang the sign and I'm going to be open for business and I'm going to over deliver and people are going to love me and they're going to tell their friends. And, everything is going to work out perfectly. And nothing could be further from the truth for almost everyone. I actually haven't met anyone that would be true for on their first go, at least.
Yeah.
And so, I think a lot of entrepreneurs come to this point where they are starting out and then they have such a disheartening experience that they stop and they go, well, obviously it's not for me. Obviously I don't know enough about business. Obviously I can't do this. And so then they go back to get a job and they're miserable, or maybe they're not quite at that point, but they're thinking maybe I should go get a job. Maybe I can't hack it. When things fell apart, can you talk to us a little bit more about what that looked like, and also the point in time where you realized that hiring coaches would be the best move for you?
I got a shiver up my spine when you asked me to talk about the closure. No, I'm just kidding. What happened, I mean, make a long story short, when I went through a business closure, I had somebody who is in my home province, doesn't live in my home cities, over an hour away, but he reached out to me and he wanted to get together for coffee. And I wasn't feeling like getting together for coffee with strangers at that time. I certainly wasn't in a sociable mood, but something made me say, what the heck, I'll go do a couple hour round trip and I'll get out for coffee with them. And that was really a very important thing for me, because that person remains a mentor even today. He's a coach, but I consider him a mentor. And it was just a huge meeting for me because it changed my energy around. It made me realize that, hey, it's not that uncommon for entrepreneurs to fail. In fact, most of the successful entrepreneurs have failed more than once. It takes time. It's rare that you catch lightning in a bottle and it's a huge success right away. So that was very important for me. One thing that happened in 2012, and I think this is important to mention, people, because there's a myth of the entrepreneurs striking out on their own where they quit their job, they tell their boss to go shove it, they're off to the races. And one thing that was important for me was in 2013, I got it wasn't a job desk job. It was a sales job with a telecommunications company. And it was a great job. It was a home office. I got to work from home, had to travel out of town once a month or every 2 months, and no manager breathing over my shoulder. So it was very flexible that way. It wasn't my passion, but it gave me that stability for when I got started coaching. So for the first close to probably a year of coaching, I was actually working with the telecommunications company as well, and I was doing double duty. And I kind of said to myself, once my income can pass what I'm making with my sales job, I'm jumping. So it wasn't a case where the problem is if you go out to be an entrepreneur and you have to be successful right off the hop, let's say coaching, for example, like our world, if you have to get clients coming in the door tomorrow, you're going to make a lot of compromises and work with people that you don't want to work with. And you're probably going to charge less than you should be charging just to get revenue coming in. And then you're going to be stressed, you're going to be miserable, and you're not going to do a good job. So the advantage with that sales job that I had is it gave me the peace of mind that I had my bills paid. Didn't give me a lot of extra money that I could throw thousands and thousands of dollars into my coaching. So I started my coaching on a dental floss budget, not a shoestring budget. It was smaller, but I made up for that with work ethic, and I was doing double duty and I was working a ton of hours. And it was interesting because I really enjoyed the coaching side of it and stuff. And I just wasn't turned on at all with the sales side of it. I wasn't bouncing out of bed saying, "Oh, I want to get to this, sales job at the telecommunications company." But that being said, that was very important because it gave me some stability. So if someone's listening and they want to go out on their own, they want to start a business, it's not a bad idea to do that side hustle, which I know you talk about with your podcast, because at least then you've got the bills paid and you're not under pressure. And you're going to be busy because you're going to have to pack a lot of effort into those extra hours to try to make those two things work, your job and your business, plus your kids and soccer practice and homework and stuff. But you know what? Don't bother with the Netflix marathon of this season of Daredevil or Breaking Bad. I guess Breaking Bad's over. But whatever the hot Orange is the New Black. Forget it. Don't do the marathon Orange is the New Black. Work on your business instead for a Saturday and do it that way. So I'm a big fan of the side hustle until it's rolling and it's a real business with revenue. Then you can make the jump.
Awesome. I love that. And also, I think you had a leg up in that you had been studying Think and Grow Rich and other personal development, because I totally agree with everything you just said as far as the way to approach it. And also, I think that if people don't understand that fundamental mindset stuff, they won't even be able to get to where you were at.
Right. There's a saying, I think it's Michael Beckwith from The Secret said it, but it said, you can't light up the world if you can't pay your light bill, which is true, right? Yeah. So it'd be very difficult if I was trying to coach and I had bill collectors calling me, the phone's ringing while I'm on the phone with somebody, right? So I'm not saying that you should. The mistake some people make is they set a 10-year plan, which is too long. It's not, you shouldn't take you 10 years to transition over, but sometimes it's not bad to take a year or a couple of years to do it right, and transfer over. As long as you have an exit strategy. I call it with my clients because I work specifically with coaches, and a lot of them do have a 9-to-5 job when they first come to me and they want to go to coaching. And we set an Independence Day. So it's not like the movie with the huge alien spaceship over the White House, but Independence Day is a really powerful word, right? Especially for Americans when they hear Independence Day. And we set an Independence Day that, okay, this is your Independence Day is October 30th, 2016 or whatever it is. And then they know, okay, we got some time, but they also have to keep moving because they can't screw around. They've got to hit that date.
Absolutely. That's such a great point. Yeah, I think planning is really, really crucial for long-term stability and also to scale. Like if you're just doing things because you hear like this is happening and that's happening and you're just like following the herd, you're not going to be able to sustain that. Whereas if you take that time, again, not 10 years, but like, I like to set with my clients that I'm already working with, I have them set 90-day goals, like 3 months out. Let's just focus on one thing for 90 days. And it's so hard for most people because they're used to doing so many different things. So slowing down really helps to speed up a lot.
Yeah. One of my friends, he's actually a coach, and you guys got him. He was in New Brunswick, and Ontario stole him. So Nick Pereira, he's from Ontario, but he was here, then he went back to Ontario. And Nick made a good point once. He told me he was working a job and doing his personal development business, like speaking, coaching on the side. And the way that he put it in his head just to make it a little bit easier to swallow having that job is he viewed the job as an investor towards his business.
Yeah.
So every dollar that job was bringing in was a dollar that could go into the business, and it made it a little bit easier. Oh, okay, that's an investor, and you can sort of stomach the job a little bit more if you don't enjoy the job. But I do think that there's a sweet spot. I love 90-day goals, by the way. I think 90 days is very powerful for goals, but I've heard people that have taken 10 years, and I know one coach I had on my show, and she said, I wish I hadn't taken 10 years to make the transition. I was too scared. And she's doing awesome now, but she wasted, probably 7 or 8 years that she could have been transitioned completely over. So I shouldn't take you 10 years. If you're working at something hard, you're passionate, you're putting the effort into it. God, it's not going to take 3,600 days or whatever 10 years is. It should just take a few years to get going.
Absolutely. Awesome. So, tell me about, you do podcasting, you do coaching, you do a bunch of different things today as your business stands, and you're all the way out in there in Atlantic Canada where you guys just get the internet. So you're not very tech savvy, I'm sure. But tell us what one tool that you use online that is just instrumental in your business is.
Well, I mean, it sounds really elementary, but Skype, I couldn't do my business without Skype and Zoom, which we're using to record this now. So I just got done a group call and we use Zoom, and that's with clients all over. And so, I mean, that's important. If my business was just local, there are some coaches in my neck of the woods here. We're not a small town. We've got 145,000 people, the surrounding area. But that being said, coaching isn't widely accepted here. So I don't put any energy into local prospecting. It's all my clients are in the US. I've got some clients in the UK. I've had clients in Dubai and all over, but I don't focus here locally. I'm not buying tables at trade shows and advertising on bus benches and in the local paper. That's very 1990s for me, at least. I like to focus all over the world. So Skype's a big thing, and I absolutely love my online scheduler. If my house was on fire and if an online scheduler is actually a physical item and not scheduled, I would run in and grab my online scheduler. But since it's, all in the cloud and stuff, I don't have to do that. But
which one do you use?
I use Schedule Once, and I love it. Yeah. So I couldn't do my business, especially with the daily podcast and stuff. I always see people, I'm sometimes on a message thread with someone. So if someone Joe says, Mark, can you connect me with Mike, who's been on your show? And then I'm on that thread if it's a Facebook message, and they're going back and forth negotiating time. Well, hey, Mike, are you available Tuesday at 3? No, I'm not available Tuesday at 3. How about Wednesday at 10? No, not 10. Do it at 3. And it's like, negotiating a Middle East peace treaty, by the end of it. And I said this to one of my clients once. I sent him a side message and I said, would you please just get a scheduler? This is
free.
Yeah. You can get Calendly. You can book.me is another one.
I love Acuity.
Oh my, yeah, that's right. And the amount of time that's spent, this is going to sound harsh, but I'm sorry. If you're an entrepreneur and you want to make a go of it and you're not, it's not even that you have to spend $20 a month. You can get something free. If you're not willing to take 5 minutes to register an online calendar, then get out of business. You might as well just completely get out of business, because just trust me, it's going to make your life so much easier.
I completely agree with you. And I was having a conversation with somebody not too long ago who uses AI, so artificial intelligence. I think it's called Amy Ingram or something. And I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. It sounds really neat. It was flippin' exhausting because it's like, for the person using it, like as the person who sets it up, it's great because you don't get bothered about scheduling until you get told what your schedule is or what your appointment is. But for the person who's trying to make an appointment with you, it's horrible. It's worse than dealing with a human being. Yeah. So yeah, and at first, again, when I heard about it, I'm like, oh, that's really interesting. And then after going back and forth with a robot for like 5 or 6 messages, I said, no, stop, whatever words I needed to use to have this thing stop writing me. And I wrote to the person and I said, hey, how about us humans work this out? And I never heard back.
See, that's creepy. It'd be like Hal from 2001: A Space Odyssey or something, trying to, work a schedule with him or something. But yeah, you want to make it really easy and as simple as possible, and a good
for yourself and for the other person, right?
Yeah, it's a business. The easier you can make it, you're going to be better off.
That's one thing. I have had some amazing guests that I interviewed, and a lot of people would ask me, especially at the summit, like, because nobody had ever heard of me before, right? I mean, as we are recording this in February, it's just over a year since I quit my job in law enforcement. Nobody had even heard of me because I was a ghost. So it's like,
you're famous now.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about all that, but when I came on the scene, people were really confused. Like, how did you get these big name, well-respected people to be on your summit? And there's a lot of reasons behind that. But one of the biggest is that I made it really easy for them to say yes. Like, really easy.
And I bet another secret is you actually asked, which sounds extremely common sense. But I've gotten some big guests on my show and stuff. And I got some ones coming up, and I've just gotten them I'm on their email list and I respond to them. I reply, and they, hey, here's what I'm doing. Would you like to come on the show? And they're like, yeah, sure, I'd like to. Now they may not be able to come on might be a few months, but people don't ask because people think, oh, he's too busy, so I'm not going to bother asking. So it sounds like extreme common sense, but just ask more and you're going to get lucky. Sounds like you're picking up at the bar or something. The same thing would work at a bar. You ask enough, you are going to get lucky. But, in business, if you just ask, people want to help other people. I believe most people do.
I agree, but I have a little bit of a different take on that.
Okay. About the bar or about guests?
Pardon?
I said about the picking up at the bar or about guests?
About guests. I haven't been to a bar in a long time.
I've been to a bar once in the last 5 years, and I felt like I was about 85 years old. So I don't go to the bars.
So I agree that people don't ask enough, but I think it's really important that before you ask, you think about what you're asking, and you think about who you're asking, and you think about why you're asking, and you think about what you can provide to the other person in terms of value. Because I think I asked, I got a lot of people who normally say no to people to say yes to me, but I think it was because I put a lot of intention behind it. I actually cared. It wasn't like I was just asking just to ask because I needed people. It was very intentional. I was very clear about who I wanted on there. And
don't send like a form. I get form letters from people or emails where I could tell they just copy and paste. Hey, I love what you're doing with your show, but they all sound the same. I think that they took a course or something. So a perfect example, Doberman Dan, the copywriter, he's legend in the copywriting circles. Well, I'm a member of his $97 a month marketing Camelot. So that was an in for me. Hey, Dan, I'm a customer of yours, and I'd love to have you on the show. Ben Settle, another big email marketing guy. I was able to say to Ben, hey, I heard your interview with Doberman Dan because I'm in this community. Would you like to come on the show? And he answered there. So with each of them, I was able to throw something personal in there. And I do that all the time when I have a bigger name guest on there. So it's not like I'm just copying and pasting. I do a little bit of research, but a lot of people don't do that. A lot of people just send a boring blah, paragraph or whatever. And if you're able to help them out, great, and I've shared their stuff around. They know that they know I'm in their communities. So that definitely helps.
Absolutely. And I mean, that is something, I bought programs from a lot of the people I interviewed first, because, well, for one thing, and there were people who I bought programs from that I never invited to an interview because I didn't feel like their message was congruent with mine.
Who's that? No, I'm just kidding.
Good people.
Guess the names. Come on.
So it's really, I think, important that, for me, it was really important that there was a connection.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of people will say, well, I can't afford this, I can't afford that. I'm not in my business to play games. I'm in my business to build an empire. And so I can't afford isn't a matter of reality for me. So it was like investing. If there is somebody who's got a program and I want to know them, and it only will cost me $97 to get a program from them, to get into their community, to have a direct connection and say, hey,
that's a bargain
customer,
for the right person. Yeah.
These are people who charge thousands of dollars to work with, right?
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because this is something that's really important. Now, I shot a video I put on Facebook the other day. I don't know if you saw it. I don't expect you to watch all my videos, but I was talking about the importance of investing in something as opposed to free. So nowadays with the internet, it's so easy to get free this, free that, all the free lead magnets and free coaching sessions and all that stuff. So you have a lot of people that are just out there trying to get all this free, and then it's not doing any good. And they're wondering, well, why? I'm getting free stuff from this great guy, Brendan Burchard. He's awesome. I'm getting free stuff. Why didn't it work? And I think there's something really powerful when you pay for something. So I mentioned Doberman Dan. I'm in his community, his marketing Camelot. I get a hard copy newsletter once a month from him, which sounds very dated, but I think it's smart because I keep that and I devour it, because it's something you don't get a ton of mail nowadays. Everything's electronic, but then you get other stuff like webinars are special behind that paywall and all the other stuff. Well, I really put a lot into effort into that community, because you know what it's like in Canada now with our Canadian dollars, like the Canadian peso. 97 US is like $140 Canadian, right? It's even more, but it means that I treat it seriously. So anyone who's listening, who's been consuming free for free, I'm not saying that you go out and buy $100 monthly memberships for all these different people, because that's a lot of money. But pick one or two people that are good and that you can learn a lot from. And like you said, Nicole, put the money into it, and invest in yourself, because you're going to treat it it's going to be different than free. I have free stuff. I've gotten free stuff from Brendan Burchard. Brendan Burchard's awesome, but I haven't looked at it because I've got all this stuff and it's free, and I think there's something important when you invest in something. There's a mental switch that happens when that takes place.
Totally. And, I'm huge on giving away tons of value and giving away lots of freebies, and I'm happy to do it. But one of the exciting things that, we're recording right now before the launch actually happens, but with the launch, I actually have a membership site that the first 100 people can get into for lifetime for only $300. And that's going to be sort of similar to that, where it's like, you're going to keep getting value. You're going to keep getting my attention and connection to me. And it's just a very affordable way of having that additional support, and taking action, that's not going to break the bank.
Yeah. And I hate to say, I treat everyone like, if I can help somebody with one of my free resources, great. Mm-hmm. But there's people who invest in themselves and they invest in me. I like, what does Doberman Dan say? He likes eating. He likes having a roof over his head. So he says the same thing with his community. If someone's putting their money where their mouth is and stuff, then I'm going to make sure I knock their socks off, with what I'm doing. So I've kind of changed my opinion with people looking for freebies, because I've found a lot of people that are just looking for free are never going to invest in themselves. And if they're not going to invest in themselves, I'm not going to invest my time and effort. So I'll give free stuff to help them. And introduce them, let them know what I'm up to. But at the end of the day, I want people that are going to open up their wallets and invest in themselves, with it. And I treat those people like gold. And like I said, I knock their socks off because they deserve it. They've invested in themselves.
Absolutely. And with that, we are definitely out of time. It's been so fun talking to you. So if people want to invest in working with you, or even just finding out more about you and learning about your community, that's fantastic. How can they reach you?
Yeah, the best spot is naturalborncoaches.com. You can find everything. We're going through a site revamp at the moment, which is exciting, but I say it's a lot like if you have a kitchen or a bathroom that to be updated, but you've put it off, out of sight, out of mind. Well, now I'm like, okay, I got to renovate that bathroom. So it's being revamped, but definitely naturalborncoaches.com is where you can find out more. And I'm doing some things with membership communities and so on as time goes on as well this year. So yeah, check it out. Love hearing from people, and any way I can help, I'd love to help.
Beautiful. And your podcast is Natural Born Coaches, and it's 5 days a week?
Yes, Monday to Friday, 4:30 a.m. Eastern every single day. We're coming up to episode 400 in a few weeks after we record this. So,
sorry, you're 5 days a week or 7?
I was 7 days a week for the first 200 episodes, and then scaled it back to Monday to Friday.
Okay.
So I'm kind of cheating. I'm calling it a daily show. I know that Saturday and Sunday are technically days, but Monday to Friday, I'm like, you know what? That's close enough now. I hit and this is a good lesson to leave with, is I wasn't getting enough extra bang for the buck, or the community wasn't, for those extra 2 days, because people were saying, Mark, it's too much content, we can't keep up with it. And then it was stressing me out because I had extra shows. So this way I could do 5 shows a week, give as much as I can in there, and people are still happy. So it was 7 days a week for the first 200. The last 200 have been 5 days a week, and that's going to stay that way for the foreseeable future.
I love it. That's fantastic. Marc Mawhinney, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Nicole.
Yeah, absolutely.